And speaking of companies behaving badly, I also wanted to talk just briefly about this article that I mentioned to you off the air. It came out on dailyfinance.com, and it's titled, Many Fortune 500 Firms Pay Less in Income Taxes Than You, which is known by many of us in the industry, but I'm sure it will come as a surprise to some of our listeners. It starts out by saying, of course, that billionaire Warren Buffett and millionaire President Obama pay taxes at a lower rate than their secretaries. Everybody knows that.
Right.
And they admit that themselves. But what will really shock people in general is that American citizens collectively pay higher income tax rates than General Electric, Boeing, DuPont, and countless other companies.
That's right.
Many Fortune 500 companies with a pre-tax profit over that period totaling $1.4 trillion, but only 25% of them paid any federal taxes at a rate of less than 10%, and 30 of those companies paid absolutely no income tax. And the 78 companies that enjoyed at least 1 year of paying no income tax had profits equaling $156 billion. I would love to have just a piece of that. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Did you see 60 Minutes with Immelt, the CEO from GE in Brazil? In 2010, they paid no U.S. taxes. However, they did pay taxes in Brazil. And guess where the investment is going? It's going to Brazil.
Absolutely.
Now, coincidentally, my dividends have not gone up, and the stock has not gone up, and he's still making his $30 million a year, plus his stock options. That's theft, as far as I'm concerned. Look at the Facebook
executive who just renounced his American citizenship because he can get a better tax rate elsewhere.
Right.
And we're allowing that.
Well, then, that's it. That's it. I mean, to me, that's...
It's
I'm
unbelievable.
a veteran. I have a real problem with that.
Right.
I have a real problem. You earn the money here. I don't care if you want to become another American citizen, but you're going to pay the taxes due until you're there.
Right.
You want to but do me a favor, get the hell out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need you.
Yeah, and interestingly enough here, it says too that if the government had taxed them at the 35% corporate rate, which almost all of the small companies pay in the area, instead of that 35% corporate rate, these companies, they get all the special breaks because they're big and they fund the politicians' pocketbooks.
Oh, yeah.
They would have received $55 billion in tax revenue under the 35% rate. However, these companies actually received refund checks from the government,
yes,
totaling $21.8
in addition
billion.
To $21.8 billion?
Yes.
Not only do they not pay taxes, they got a refund on the taxes they didn't pay.
Isn't that lovely?
When it comes to small businesses, most do not. They're in the 35% bracket, but they normally pay about 24% because of their deductions. I mean,
right.
That's why they set it there, so that they do the investment into equipment, et cetera, and employees that give them that right to get that deduction.
Exactly. And they said if you didn't have those tax breaks, the U.S. Treasury would be $473 billion richer today. And speaking of companies that go overseas, Apple avoid state taxes in California by, and this is interesting to me, I didn't think this was legal, by setting up additional corporate offices in Nevada where there's no state income tax, and then they send profits through Irish subsidiaries to subsidiaries in the Netherlands to other subsidiaries in the Caribbean, which lets Apple trim its U.S. federal tax bill. It would have been $5.7 billion instead of the $3.3 billion it actually paid.
So what's the answer to that? Don't buy Apple products.
Yeah, or else make Apple pay the full taxes, which will cover the whole debacle with J.P. Morgan.
Right, exactly. It's a sad thing, but at least we looked at some of the concepts and what happened.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciated being a guest on your show. You do an excellent job.
Thank you very much,
Dr.
Paul.
Appreciate it.
And I thank you for coming on board tonight.
My pleasure indeed.
We will see you next Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. on The Business Edge with me, Dr. Drake. Thanks for joining us.